when things were slow and maybe I like opportunities and quotes and invoices, like things weren't moving, what activities, what I need to do? I needed to get in front of people. I needed to initiate conversations. I needed to maybe have something that generated energy around conversations, around sharing ideas, around sharing insights, inspiring people. And so empowering people, educating people. So taking that then into my coaching business, and the action might look like an email, a text, a DM, or something like that to follow up with someone I haven't heard from or someone who is engaged in something before.
Well, hello, and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And we are continuing with our series, The Coaches That Don't Suck. And I'm so excited to be joined by my friend Kirsten Schmidtke. Kirsten is a leadership and performance coach. She's dedicated to helping individuals and organizations align their work, accelerate success, and inspire future leaders. Her corporate experience and coaching expertise transform clients from uncertain to unstoppable. Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So excited. So we were getting ready to do the episode and you were sharing with me that it was a very busy day. Take 30 seconds and just share with us what is it that you really do? Like how do you help people?
Amazing. I thought maybe we were going to go with like morning routine, but I can definitely go into, how I help people, which actually starts with the morning routine, right? Like if I'm setting myself up to feeling good, feeling aligned to my goals, my purpose, then yes, I am helping people from a place that is grounded, that is authentic, and that is generous. When it comes to serving and supporting my clients, I work with clients both in group and private coaching capacities. And really, our work focuses on, I really love to bring both the left and right side of the brain to the table. I'm sure if we talk a little bit about my background, that will come out really clearly. But I work in the mindset as well as like the tactics and tools space. And I love to really bridge those together so that when I'm working with clients, I'm helping them to get out of the way, like themselves out of their own way, which is obvious, often their thinking and their mindset, and then to help really ideate and guide them to the actions, the steps, the doing, right? The things that are going to help them to move the needle and get them to their goals faster.
All right, now you've got me curious. So I have a chemical engineering background. I was definitely like, I think the left brain that had to bring more right brain into things. So I'm curious, what is that background that led you to the conclusion that you need that balance?
Yeah. Well, I grew up I grew up as a dancer, grew up doing many things, but dance was my passion, was my life, performance, entertainment on stage. It actually led me to spend some time as a performer before going back to university, for which I received a degree in biochemistry. I loved math. I was always really interested in the body, but I actually found that the math and chemistry side of things and physics, like that was actually what really, I don't know, made sense to me, like connected for me. And so it's just really interesting that this theme seems to continue throughout my life where I have this desire to be creative, but also this side of my brain that's like, I love numbers, I love problem solving, I love equations, I love math.
That's so awesome. I was a figure skater growing up and I did the chemical engineering degree, but I have to tell you biochemistry was like my Achilles heel. Like there was something about it that it didn't vibe. But I feel you on the math and the movement and all of that kind of thing. That makes a lot of sense. So Kirsten, when you're working with somebody, well, first of all, I'm really curious, how do you find your clients?
That's a very common question that I receive when I talk to other coaches, which I'm sure it looks different for everybody.
It does. It does. Yeah.
And I always like to share with my clients what works for me so that they can also like what's working. I want them to try the same things, right? Because often it's kind of a tried and true process and it's leading to results. I'm starting with who I know. right?
Mhm.
I found most of my clients through simply conversations. So whether that is connecting over coffee, networking event, and sharing what I'm up to now, whether it has been through a response to maybe a post or, on social media. And of course, the mechanism of referrals can be very, very powerful too in bringing new clients to us that are coming from someone who's experienced working with us. But, I guess between now and the coaching career and the biochemistry degree, actually had a career in technology sales in the corporate world. And so that's been obviously was a really helpful stepping stone to finding clients, was connecting with my network, or you could say like reconnecting and reintroducing myself in a way as I was stepping into being a coach.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's a unfortunately very discounted way to go about just building your business and your practice. I also started with a very sales oriented approach in the first few years of my business that I was actually like really nervous about doing online marketing, and it took me a few years to learn how to do online marketing. And even when you do online marketing really well, guess where it lands? In a sales conversation. So, it's so funny because I think a lot of people are building, really complicated marketing, hoping that somebody's just going to like see it and be really impressed and then just throw a credit card at your face. At the end of the day, coaching really is a relationship. So, it comes down to your willingness to have those relationships and to connect. So, I am curious, like, what practices do you recommend for just staying really authentic and curious as you build connections and as you identify like, oh, maybe this person might be a connection that could be, I don't know, like a client or a referral? Like, what are your top tips?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I just really want to acknowledge and appreciate you for the connection, but also the separation of marketing and sales,
Mm,
right? Because you're totally right. If we just put out the most perfect post, it's not gonna like make it rain, or like it's not just kind
I
of an
know, and
immediate
we give
win,
ourselves
right? From a
stomach
sales
aches over it.
perspective. Another bill I had, which was like around like the relationship building. And, I've had people ask me like, it must be so different. Like this job you're doing after doing sales. And I'm like, but it's so much the same because
It
sales
is.
is relationship building, coaching is relationship building. Right. And so the question was, what are the tools, or what are the things that I kind of look to or lean on? And when we think about relationship building, it's all about earning trust, right? It's
Mm,
all about relating, right, to one another. And as a result, building trust. And one thing that I've learned is the power of listening. And so whether that is like through an email, a DM, a chat, a phone call, a voice memo, it's always coming from the place, like meeting the client, the person or potential client where they are and listening to that. Not speaking and sharing for all the ways you can solve their problems, but really listening and letting their thoughts, their share guide you to the question or guide you to the response versus feeling that you have an agenda to follow or a series of questions that like have to be asked. We can always build those guidelines for ourselves, but if we're not in the seat of listening, like you almost want to be in a conversation just like you would be when you're coaching, right? Is
really
how you
love
want to
that.
be listening when you're engaging with a particular client. Go ahead.
Yeah, I super love that, and thank you. I was thinking about, this summer I had the opportunity to teach a class on coaching skills for mastermind.com. And we were talking about what is active listening. And what I was saying about it, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but is that active listening really requires you to speak after they said something, but it's to confirm. So for example, sounds like you're saying this, seems like you're saying that. One of the mistakes that I made early on as I was, navigating all of this as a recovering introvert and definitely a perfectionist was that I was getting into my head a lot about like, okay, listen, but I wasn't I wasn't feeding back the acknowledgement that, here's what's being said here, giving the opportunity for the person to correct what I said. And it's almost like, I love what you said about the agenda and being like concerned and worried about what your agenda is. I almost think of it as like you double click up that your agenda, your intention, I like that word a little better. Your intention going into connected relationships is to serve, is to listen, is to like listen for how can I be of greatest service, and like honor your coaching as being a great way to serve, but also be open to there's lots of different ways that you could be helping and relating to someone.
Absolutely. And even just in listening to you right now, it was another part of active listening is every time I'm like, oh, I have something good to say. I have something good to say. It's like, it's letting that actually go and go back into, no, what's Amanda saying? Okay, wait, get back into Amanda's world. Get back, right? Instead of me holding on to all these, my ego is telling me I have all these wonderful things though that I can tell Amanda. But wait, listen to what you're talking about in the moment, right? I think you did capture, I do agree with you, a really powerful tool that I learned like in becoming a coach and in my certification that I didn't, I wish I had known in my sales career. And that is exactly what you said, sharing back, like, I'm hearing this. Is that right? Or what I've heard you say is, would you add or change anything? Because what we don't realize is everyone just, you've got glasses on, you're literally seeing through a different lens than I am right now. And we actually also hear through the lens of our own experience, our own, maybe what happened this morning, our own skills and strengths. So what we're saying is not always being received or heard the same way. And so I really love that check-in of reflecting back what I heard and ensuring that I'm on the client and I are on the same path together.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious, what do you do or how do you lead yourself through challenging periods or slow seasons with your process? Whether it's, fewer sales are coming in or you're just noticing kind of a lull sometimes in the coaching space. How do you navigate through that? How do you lead through that?
I think there's two parts. There is getting into action will always create momentum and as a result, motivation. Like I believe motivation starts by taking action. Like getting off the couch is like literally the first step to going to the gym. Watching TV, right? Like that idea is the same when you apply it to your business. What is one? Well, this is a place where I really actually relied on my sales career. And okay, same thing. When things were slow and maybe I like opportunities and quotes and invoices, like things weren't moving. What I need to do? I needed to get in front of people. I needed to initiate conversations. I needed to maybe have something that generated energy around conversations, around sharing ideas, around sharing insights, inspiring people. And so empowering people, educating people. So taking that then into my coaching business and the action might look like an email, a text, a DM, or something like that to follow up with someone I haven't heard from or someone who is engaged in something before. But if I really want to take it one step further and really generate the energy engine around it, I will create a webinar, a workshop, something that gets my voice and my ideas and my service like engine running. And it's worked. Like I love to share this story. Like last year, at the end of the year, I had some goals that I wanted to, for Q4. And I decided I would do, this was very ambitious, by the way. I did a 5-day webinar. It was like a 15-minute like section every day over the lunch hour. I was kind of experiment to see how I could maybe engage more with my corporate network. In any event, we make these assumptions that is going to generate the lead or generate the opportunity, but just being in the energy of being of service and showing up and sharing that week, back-to-back days, I signed private coaching clients in like 6-month containers at a new rate. They did not come from the webinar.
That's awesome. Where
But
did
they
they
came
come
to me.
from?
One was, I would say, kind of like a friend of a friend. Like she was in my world. So she had been following what I had been doing on social and seeing, seeing what I was up to and what I was all about. And the other one, she didn't know who referred her because she came from the technology industry and in a tech forum had kind of done like a shout out to or an ask to the group, right? Like, does anybody know of career coaches or people who, help navigate for careers? And my name ended up on the list.
I love it.
So
I
yeah.
love this. This is such a great conversation because I think sometimes our need for certainty or our need for control can sometimes sabotage the really good results. I'm reminded of a book. One of my favorite books ever is "You Are a Badass at Making Money." And I love it because, later in my career, I read a whole bunch of different personal development type books. And I was like, a really good summary and a very funny book is still "You Are a Badass at Making Money." And one of the central tenets or ideas of that whole series is that your intention or what you're putting out there for universal intelligence is so important because you don't always know what that pathway is going to be or what the thing is that's going to take off or work. And I think one of the biggest traps that we fall into in goal seeking is getting overly linear, a little over indexed on the math that it has to look like this path has to be on this timeline. And truly, like when you're in this really higher intent space and you keep putting more and more and more energy towards it in a way that's not sacrificing your higher good or not kind of in a quid pro quo, even balance kind of a thing, but rather just like an abundant giving place, it tends to just attract people. And sometimes it's directly, but very often it's almost like there's these eddies in the energy in the universe and it just kind of sweeps things up. That's been my experience. I don't know if that's for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me a while to really, I think once you experience it, you never go back, but it took me a while to really wrap my head around this idea of having a goal, but not having to know how to get there. Like,
Mm.
not knowing how to get, like, not having to be so caught up in, like, this is exactly how it's going to look like. For example, what I just shared, there was a goal in mind, but at one time it had to be, I don't know, this many private clients, and they were going to, I don't know, they look like this. They were going to come from this source, and they were going to come from this lead, or they were going to, right? Like you get so caught on like how it, like what it's supposed to look like, or something. That you miss opportunity. And so when you can let go of the how, like just like the how being none of your business, fully, you direct your energy towards that goal, and holy cow, things come in and come to you that you otherwise would have not even probably noticed because you're so focused on how it was supposed to look or how you were going to get to the goal. So this idea of really releasing the how, staying again super focused on what the goal is. I mean, we know there's power in having clarity on where we're going. But when you can release being really attached to how you're going to get there, it's amazing how the opportunities find you. You attract, like you're in energy of the goal, you're in action of going towards that North Star, if you will. Things find you. Things will find you if you can let go of being really attached to how it's supposed to look or how it's supposed to come to be.
Exactly. And I think like related to that, if you stay in really high intention, what can happen if you stay in motion, you stay in that action, is you start to develop competency and you start to also identify what are the competencies that are really required here. Because I think one of the things that's easy to do earlier in the journey without having any kind of road traveled is to assume that you know what it takes to do that thing you've never ever done before. You know,
Mm.
mentorship helps with that, research helps with that, reading helps with that. All of those things help with that, but I think actually doing the thing helps you understand for you what are the pieces that are going to require more of your nurture and more of your care. I love this. So good. So, Kirsten, what are 3 things that help a coach not to suck?
Oh my gosh, that's a fun question. What are 3 things? Okay, first thing that came up was practice.
Hmm.
Of just receiving the download of practice. And you were just, and it was kind of coming from the comments that you just made too, is getting into the practice of coaching. Like when I started, I was pretty open to coaching people in any capacity, creative with my rates. Like it was just getting into the practice of coaching and always in the practice of it. I think that's one of my favorite things about the industry is that we have a coaching practice. Like we're all working to be better at being ourselves and offering guidance on helping others to do the same thing. And so we're practicing together essentially. I don't know what that is. And so the more practice and the more reps you can get in of doing the thing is a little bit kind of what you were just talking about too. Like that just improves, that just helps you to be a better coach, which really leads me to kind of the second part is knowing you better. Like if you want to be better at, gosh, whatever, I mean, in this case, we're talking about coaches, but I tell my clients this that are leaders in corporate or business owners of a different variety. Like if you want to be better, if you want to serve more, if you want to up the level of your leadership, like you need to understand you better. You need to have a higher level of awareness, right? A higher level of thinking that will lead to a higher level of results. So definitely like be in the practice of coaching, getting to know yourself better. Oh, now the last one, what do I want to offer? Is the last one for coaches that, I'm just in the spirit of our right brain, left brain. I really want to make it like something's telling me that it needs to be business related, like knowing your numbers. I'm going to just say it, knowing your numbers, because if we're not taking full responsibility for our results, which includes our revenue, right? Where we're looking to build a business here, that's going to be mirrored by our clients. That's going to be mirrored in how we're showing up. That's going to be, right? So I think taking responsibility and ownership of the business. Now, whether that means you have support from a financial expert or you're hiring a bookkeeper or an account, like whatever that means for you. But I think having that, knowing your numbers and understanding just like really, really the basics of cash flow and knowing kind of that revenue, like how things are flowing for you. I just really think that empowers you to feel, I know for me, it was like this shift in like, I'm building a business. Like I'm doing this thing. And so I think that last piece I would offer is knowing those numbers to just empower you to continue to be of service, to continue to grow, to know that when you know your numbers and those are growing, it just means you get to serve more people in more powerful ways.
Really, really love that. And, thinking back on my own journey, that was a hard one lesson. I thought that, and I think if you just like look at the marketing in the industry, even now, even like 7, 8 years later, it's all like make this much money in this amount of time. And it's like, that's the goal. And I'm like, no, mate, the truth is that you already really do understand cash flow on a level because you know how much your rent is, you know how much your general living costs are, and there's jobs that you would not accept if you couldn't make enough to cover your lifestyle. So most people actually really do understand cash flow on a level, but they don't prioritize it very well. So what happened in my story was I learned how to sell and I learned how to get the clients in the door. And I had like 16 one-on-one clients and I had I had more expenses than I had and I was like, what's happening here? And at the end of the day, I had to do more reading and more learning and more implementation around cash flow. Even though I was, doing multiple 6 figures, and I was shook by that. Like it really affected pretty much like everything personally, but it also really affected what I ended up helping people with in the future with my coaching, because it's like not talked about enough, really not talked about enough. I love it.
It
Well,
goes back to that second point too, like knowing yourself better, right?
yes.
Like understanding how, because absolutely there's likely a belief, a story, like a mindset, like something around money too that you want to get clarity and awareness around, so that when you do look
Totally.
at the numbers, you see them for what they are, numbers.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
literally numbers. Like a phone number is a number. But as soon as there's a dollar sign in front of it, we give it like all this extra meaning, right? So as soon as we can, yeah, clear some of that, which I imagine, like, question on a fourth one, the coaches that don't
Sure.
suck
Yeah.
have coaches.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So
Coaches that
maybe
don't
the
suck have
third one
coaches.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, your own coach to help you, by the way, work through maybe if there is some blockers or mindset shifts around the money piece so that you can just see it as cash and you can see it as flow, like money
Mm-hmm.
flowing. I think that was a big shift for me too, and seeing it's not just like in out transactional, but like money is always flowing and always there's an opportunity for money to be coming in if you're open to receiving it and like open to going out there and like asking for it. Like go and get it.
Totally. Yeah. Go get it. Yeah. Stop sitting back and like waiting for someone to recognize your awesomeness. Like go out
Yeah.
and strut your stuff. I love it. Kirsten, what's the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah, so I love to connect on two platforms, Instagram and LinkedIn. Both you can find me at my full name. Might need to do a copy and paste. Kirsten Schmidtke.
Not
Lots of consonants.
Schmidt. We covered this.
Not
It's
Schmidt. Yeah,
Schmidtke.
not Schmidt. Make sure you include the KE. Okay, yeah, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. And if you do connect with me on either platform, and I'm just thinking, we're just talking about this number thing, and when it comes to creating what we call a pipeline in sales, I think coaches get a little bit hung up with like, how do I manage follow-ups or how do I, kind of build this out in a way that I can know who to follow up with or also know what opportunities I have to build my business to get to the goal I want to get to. I just shared actually the other day that, in the tech industry, like we always had this kind of guiding light of like 2, 3 of revenue was like the opportunity that you want to generate because it's generally about a third that we actually like close, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, if you're looking for more guidance on how you can organize that information, and Amanda, you're probably going to go here, but if you just want to DM me sales, I have a really great tool that can help you with that.
That's super amazing. And what a wonderful gift. And we'll include Kirsten's links and everything in the show notes as well. And listener, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And go ahead and give a rating and review for this episode. 5, please, because Kirsten really showed up and she deserves it. And it'll also help other coaches find the episode. And in fact, you probably know 3 other coaches that would really benefit from hearing this. So go ahead and send it to them. Just grab the link and share it with your friend. Send it on message, send it on DMs, whatever. But just lift some people up today. All right. So I hope you're having a really amazing day and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. See you soon.